because it's not on the agenda, or?
I'll just make the comment as soon as you get into session.
Okay.
I'll be
All
out
right.
for 10:30 and I'll be back in as soon as I can.
Perfect. Okay. So this is a call to order. It's 10:03 of the OTAC committee, OT Advisory Committee for LSBME. Please note any comments by the public are welcome and can be emailed to publiccomment@lsbme.la.gov. JACINTHA, please confirm you're verified the identity of all tele and video conference participants. And is the sound clear and audible to the public and those on the teleconference and video conference?
It is.
Okay. All right. Roll call. So let's see. JACINTHA, you shared my that for me. Okay, so we have Leslie Clement.
Present.
All right, Brenda Martin.
Here.
All right, Kelly Brandon.
Present.
Okay, Carolyn Murphy.
Present.
Ingram Frump.
Present.
Darby Philibert.
Present.
Kimberly Solari.
Yes, present.
All right, and Michelle Allison.
Present.
All right. I believe I mentioned everybody's names. Dr. Collada is definitely with us. And we also have a guest, Barbara Williams, with us. And then after each agenda call, we definitely will be looking for a public comment. If anyone has a public comment, again, you can send that to publiccomment@lsbme.la.gov. All right.
Madam Chairman,
Yes. Yes, sir.
this is
Right
Dr. Collada. You have somebody whose name you did not announce. And I want to tell you all that I have a conflict about 10:30. I'll go out to that meeting and come back in after that meeting.
Mhm.
But there's a Joseph or an L Joseph that's on the line as well that you did not call and for a roll.
I apologize. That's Latasha Joseph. Are you here?
Present.
All right. She's our licensing analyst for occupational therapy and OT assistant.
Good enough.
All right. Dr. Van, did you want to say those few comments before we begin our?
I've said them. You can go ahead and go, or you want to talk about the CME?
The stuff for your meeting as far as with the governor and
Oh, yeah. Okay. The issue I was questioned early before the meeting started about the end of the emergency declaration. And the issue is that the governor evaluates that on a regular basis. And when he determines it's over, it's over. We do not make that input into the executive decision. But what we have worked out with the governor and the board is that whenever the governor ends the emergency declaration around which all of the temporary tags are based, regardless of area of expertise, the board will extend those for 90 days for the purpose of allowing orderly transition of care for our citizens. So the governor is aware of that. He knows it's not going to be he does not feel it's a problem. So basically, when the governor says the emergency declaration is over, not the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 issue, but the end of the emergency declaration, then the board will give 90 days for all temporary tag practitioners to orderly transition care of our citizens to permanent licensed facilities and individuals.
all right. Thank you very much. Okay, so the next part we have is as old business is our meeting minutes from the December meeting. They were on 12/4, all who were present, and we had approval of the last meeting minutes prior to that. We had some updates on the OTAC appointments. We had executive session suspended. Let's see, we had a presentation of life and wellness coaching with a Mallory Jackson. We had an LOTA discussion, OT Compact. We had some dry needling update. discussion. And then of course we adjourned at 10:51. So that is our meeting minutes. Do we have any motions? If you're muted, make sure.
I motion to.
Amy, I was present at that meeting.
I missed who that was. I'm sorry.
Michelle Allison.
Michelle Allison. Would you like to motion?
I would move to add me as being present on the 12/4/2020 meeting.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I'm not on.
Michelle, I will amend that.
Okay. So Michelle Allison needs to be in there.
And-
Carolyn Murphy, were you there?
I was there.
Okay. So we need to make sure to add them to.
Sorry, guys.
All right. Latasha Joseph, were you present at the December meeting? I think maybe via telephone.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. So with those additions, do we have any motions?
I motion to accept. with
Okay.
changes.
And Darby second. Okay. So I believe that was Carolyn that motioned to
Yes.
accept. Darby said, all right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right. Aye. And any nays? Anyone object? The ayes have it. Okay. All right. So with our agenda, the next part is going to be the NBCOT presentation. Barbara Williams is with us. We thank her very much. I do believe they try to, excuse me, I believe they try to make it to all of the states every couple of years, at least, to all the regulatory boards, and just sort of give us a presentation of what's going on, what's up, and with the examination and other really cool things that are going on. So we definitely want to hear all about that. So I'm gonna give Barbara the floor. I believe JACINTHA has to change her to the host so that she can share her presentation.
As soon as I get that, I will share my screen.
Should be getting it now.
Okay,
Kim, so
might be a delay, right? Technology.
yes.
Well, let's see here.
JACINTHA, I read Kim Solari is the host now. You need to make.
We'll get there.
Kim, you're in charge.
Kim's the
Great.
host.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Not prepared.
Not-
You're the host, Kim.
No, great. I said I'm not prepared. So
Okay, so
to give this presentation.
Okay.
yes,
Now-
Barb's our girl. Barb's our girl.
Well, I mean, I'm willing to share, but I do consider it a pleasure and a privilege to talk to all of you today.
All right, I think you're
here
the
we
host.
go.
Yeah.
Here we go. I want to share sound. Okay, can y'all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, I just want to thank you for having me here today. I don't know if any of you recall a couple of years ago, my colleague Sean Conway and I actually got to come visit you in Louisiana, but due to COVID, as you all know, we're doing this in different ways now. So I have, like I said, some information about certification I'd like to share with you. And as Amy indicated, we like to make our rounds. Again, thank you for making time for me today. I'm going to talk about several different things in regard to certification. I'm going to start with talking about an overview of NBCOT, who we are and what we do. Then about our partnership with students, certificates, and with you, regulatory boards and committees. I'm going to share some information about our OT Action Exchange, and then cover a little more about the Navigator. So as I go through this, if you all have questions, feel free to interrupt me. I'm going to move things around here a little bit. Feel free to ask as I'm going through this. I want this to meet your needs as well. So, just want to throw that out there. Let me know if you all have any questions. So just about NBCOT, you know, I start by reintroducing the mission of the National Board for Certification in Occupational Therapy, which is to serve the public interest. We do this by advancing client care as well as professional practice. And we use evidence-based certification standards as well as the validation of knowledge that's essential for someone to be an effective occupational therapy practitioner. So, you know, underscoring all that we do, all of what guides our management team, our board of directors, is this mission of serving the public interest. And, you know, as you know, the OT state regulatory boards, licensure boards, committees, you know, your missions are also in regard to the public, to protect the public. So we do have common goals and objectives, and obviously work very collaboratively with these groups. You heard me say about us working closely with you, but something else I want you to know is that we are accredited by 2 different organizations. So NBCOT is accredited by the National Commission for Certifying Agencies, as well as the American National Standards Institute. So to help you put this into perspective, it's very similar to a rehab facility going through JCO accreditation, or you know, an OT or an OTA program going through ACODE accreditation. What that means is what we do in regard to certification, we're answering to outside entities, and not just 1, but to 2. So we're being held accountable. We must meet their standards, but in fact, we strive to exceed their standards. When I give this various presentations to other groups, even to students, I mention this accreditation because, you know, it's important for folks to know that we're being held accountable, and we're not answering to just 1 group, but to 2. And this is voluntary accreditation. We're not required to go through this, but again, we want folks, you know, to have confidence in what we're doing in regard to certification. So NBCOT is governed by a board of directors. You heard me mention that earlier. There's 17 members comprised of OTRs, COTAs, and public members from all across the country. Our public members have backgrounds in areas like bioethics or public health. So we try to keep that well-rounded, and obviously they are responsible for our vision. They make those big decisions to guide us as an organization. Okay, now we're going to talk some about partnership with various groups. So, you know, starting in regard to our initial certification, you know, we work hard right up front to partner with students. And I can tell you that within the past year, I've done well over 100 presentations to students, talking to them about the exam, you know, and certification in general, but, you know, how to apply for the exam, how to prepare for the exam, what certification means to them. So one of the things I share with them is this OTR content outline, which is basically the content of the exam. And on the OTR exam, we have covered what we call domains or general competencies. The OTR exam is broken down into 4 domains or general competencies. Domain 1 is evaluation and assessment, and 25% of the questions on the exam come from this area. Domain 2 is analysis and interpretation. 23% of the questions come from this area. And then 37% come from Domain 3, intervention management, and 15% from Domain 4, which is competency and practice management. Again, those accrediting bodies hold us accountable to this. What's important that I always share with students, and I hope that maybe you maybe already recognize, is that the content of the exams, both the OTR and the COTA exams, this content doesn't come from just NBCOT staff deciding what's important. That's not how this is decided. Every 5 years, we perform what's called a practice analysis survey, which means we survey thousands of entry-level practitioners across the country. So we do a practice analysis survey for the OTR exam and a separate one for the COTA exam, which means that we survey thousands of practitioners who have passed the exam within the last 3 years. And we find out what knowledge they need to have as an entry-level practitioner, what tasks or jobs they need to perform as an entry-level practitioner, and then what domains or general competencies you're seeing here that they need as an entry-level practitioner. And that's the questions of the exam. So, you know, we share this information with them to help them understand what they're being tested on. The COTA exam has 3 domains, 3 general competencies. Domain 1, collaborating and gathering information. That's 28% of the questions. Domain 2 is selecting and implementing interventions, 55% of the questions. And domain 3, upholding professional standards and responsibilities. That's 17% of the exam. So this information is readily available to students. It's on our website, you know, just to help them understand what they're being tested on. We also post for them the scoring calendar. You know, they obviously get anxious when they're going to find out that status of pass or fail. So we have posted on our website when the exam will be scored, because we don't score the exam every day of the week. What I communicate to students, it's important for them to realize that they must take an exam 3 days prior to a scoring date in order to get their score on that date. So for instance, if they wanted to get their score on April 11th, they would need to take their exam no later than April 8th. If they took the exam on the 9th, 10th, or 11th, they would have to wait until the 26th. And maybe some of you can relate to this, but you know, I took my exam decades ago and, you know, obviously had to wait months to get my score. You know, I remember going to that physical mailbox, opening that letter. So it's always interesting to hear from students now when they're like, oh man, I got to wait 4 days or I got to wait 10 days. But this gives them an idea of when they will be getting the score for that exam. And in partnering with regulatory boards and committees such as yourself, every regulatory board administrator has access to the NBCOT administrators portal. So they are given sign-on information. Any administrator can contact NBCOT and request additional individuals to have access to this portal. But this is for convenience. This is what we do to partner with administrators. This is what it looks like when they sign on. You can see there are various things like official score transfers, eligibility confirmations, information about the OT Action Exchange, as well as VCVC reports, and the online verification tool. So they simply, this is what the page looks like. This is how they would sign on. Just to give you some data from last year, this is aggregate data for the whole year for verifications of certification. So, you know, when regulatory boards contact us wanting to know if an individual is certified with NBCOT, last year we sent out 6,931 of those. So almost 7,000 verification of certifications. Whoops. Sorry about that, folks. We also sent out exam eligibility information. So we sent 2,908 of those. As you know, many states that allow for temporary licensure or limited permits, they may, one of their stipulations for one of those temporary license or limited permits may be that they need to know that the individual has been determined eligible by NBCOT to take the exam. So we sent out 2,908 of those. Score transfers, you know, to indicate that an individual has passed the exam and is eligible for licensure. Last year we sent 19,134 of these. And you know, the code of conduct, that our NBCOT code of conduct and professional practice standards guides what we do when we talk about discipline. So I know this might be a little difficult for you to see, but you know, I just wanted to give you an indication of if you go on our website, what you will find in regard to our code of conduct. And again, this guides our disciplinary actions. Students, you know, applicants for the exam have to agree to abide by this code of conduct as part of the exam application. And of course, we hold our certificates, our OTRs and COTAs accountable to this information. In regard to our disciplinary action process, we have this chart posted on our website. And this might, if you look at this closely, it's probably very similar to what you do. in your roles. You know, obviously, this is just a flow chart so that we can help individuals better understand the process that we go through if we do an investigation. But, you know, again, readily available for regulatory board members as well as our certificates to see this process when we are doing some type of investigation regarding disciplinary action. In regard to the last several years, I just want to share some data with you. The cases that we've investigated over the last several years, here is a representation of the source of those investigations. Complaints, you know, we have an area on our website where individuals can file a complaint. And you can see that this has dropped from 2017. Last year we were at 4%, but in 2017 we were at 12%. So that did take a decline. And, you know, we're always encouraged if we don't have to do a large number of investigations, but you can see the trend there. Early determination review. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, but we have a process that students can go through prior to the exam application. That is in regard to what we call our character review questions, which are part of the application. These are questions that we ask of students, such as, have you ever been dismissed from an academic institution or program? Or have you ever had a professional license, registration, or certification revoked or suspended? Or have you ever been convicted of a felony? These questions, as you can probably see, help us address our mission of serving the public interest. So we have this early determination review available to students to go through prior to the application to determine if they're still eligible to take the exam. And when I'm talking to students, I often give the example of prior to joining NBCOT, I was chair of an OT program. And there were a couple of instances which I had students who went on spring break and they made poor choices and got arrested. They came to me as chair of the program wanting to know if it was going to affect their eligibility to take the OTR exam. So I directed them to NBCOT and they went through this early determination review. So that's a background of the early determination review. But again, you can see that that has trended downward. It was at 15% in 2017 and 4% in 2020. And we know that OT and OTA programs are working really hard to get the message across to even students that are applying to their programs that there is eligibility criteria and you know, educating them on those issues. So we can't directly correlate to the trend downward due to that, but we know that they're working hard to communicate to these folks. In regard to exam application, again, we have those character review questions on the application, and you know, we do background checks, that type of thing. So again, you can see a trend downward from 32% to 14%. Self-report, we had a spike in 2019 of individuals reporting, you know, self-reports, but that's usually, you know, 2 to 3%. And then what we hear from folks like you at state boards, you know, you can see that this is the greatest percentage of our cases by source. And this year we have, or last year rather, 2020, we added to our renewal application those character review questions. So that was a new addition. And, you know, our board thought felt very strongly that these needed to be added to the renewal application to help us meet our mission, you know, again, serving the public interest. So in 2020, 39% of our investigations came from that renewal application, that portion of the application. So cases by type of behavior. You heard me explain what the early determination review is. So the top behaviors that you know, instituted an investigation. In 2019, you can see felony conviction was 90% and misconduct with harm to another was at 10%. In 2020, you can see felony conviction was the highest percentage, but you know, that was followed by misdemeanors and then misconduct with harm to another, as well as schools requiring this review. For the exam applicants, so at the time of the application, again, you know, the background checks, the character review questions. In 2019, you know, I'm displaying the top 5 here. 2019, you can see it's felony conviction, followed by misdemeanor conviction, inappropriate use of intellectual property, and then exam security violation and misconduct with harm to another were both at 5%. But in 2020, felony conviction 11%, 7% for both misdemeanor conviction and inappropriate use of intellectual property, and then substance abuse was at 7% as well. So for the occupational therapist, you can see the, you know, in 2019, the greatest percentage was with documentation problems at 16%, but in 2020, it was the greatest percentage was practicing with an expired license. And, you know, that's always disconcerting, as it, you know, I know it is to all of you when individuals do that, but in 2020, that was the highest percentage. You can see that these aren't significantly different, but the, I just wanted to point out, like in 2019, it's not that there weren't any felony convictions. Cases by type of behavior just didn't fall in the top 5, but in 2020 it did at 8%. So just gives you an idea of, like I said, cases by type of behavior. And then for the OTAs, you can see in 2019, the biggest problem that we investigated was documentation problems. But in 2020, it was lack of continuing education. So again, just to show you the top 5 and give you an idea of what we've been looking at as a certification organization. Disciplinary action summary is posted on our website. So, you know, we know that regulatory board administrators use this as well as the general public. And I can tell you that we've noticed a real trend within the last several years of folks looking at these, you know, wanting to know if any disciplinary action has taken place. In regard to behavior by patterns or trends, investigations, you know, we always keep track of this to see if there's anything we can do proactively. If we see a trend, we look at how can we help educate folks, you know, so that they're not being brought before us and undergoing an investigation. Something we've noticed in the last several years was in regard to students. And that was that students were using social media in various ways, along with other means, but they were violating copyright law and cheating on the exam or cheating on the exam. This became very apparent to NBCOT that this was a trend. And, you know, so we talked internally about what can we do to help educate students on these issues and the importance of these issues. So we developed a video that is now part of the application process. And I just want to share it with you so you can see what we're doing to address trends.
When you sign the NBCOT attestation statement on your exam application, you are entering into a binding agreement to not disclose or solicit information about the NBCOT exam or NBCOT exam prep tools at any time. NBCOT examination-related content is protected by U.S. and foreign copyright laws. It is a violation of the NBCOT Code of Conduct to share this copyrighted information without the express written permission of NBCOT. Sharing or asking for specific information that appeared on the NBCOT exam is cheating. This includes posting info on social networks, texting your friends, or even talking about exam content in class. If someone asks you to share info about the exam you took, for example, specific topics included in exam questions, or types of pictures or charts you saw, be sure to tell them that you are not permitted to share this information because it is illegal and unethical. Talking to your friends, peers, professors, exam prep companies, or social networks about the content of NBCOT exam questions jeopardizes your eligibility to take the exam or impacts your certification status if you have already passed. Candidates or certificants who share copyrighted information owned by NBCOT are subject to disciplinary action, such as invalidation of your exam score, ineligibility to sit for the exam in the future, or a sanction against your certification. Cheating is also unfair to other individuals preparing for the exam and puts future recipients of OT services at risk of harm. It is better to invest time in preparing for the exam rather than engaging in cheating behaviors. Protect yourself by being aware of what you post online or talk about in social settings. Report cheating behaviors immediately at nbcot.org/cheating. Your actions are important and can help preserve the integrity of the credential and the profession.
So again, that's just an example of what we try to do to educate individuals. This is available on our website. I know that many academicians use this to educate their students. And, despite this, I just want to share with you that late last year, there were 3 different instances, 3 different testing centers across the country in which students were caught with notes on their hands at the time of their exam. And, Prometric has proctors walking around, they have cameras. So, those students' certification is in jeopardy. So just what we do to try to educate folks. Looking at, just to share some data with you in regard to sanctions that have actually been imposed by NBCOT in regard to the early determination review. In 2018, we issued 3 reprimands and 1 censure. In 2019, it was just 1 reprimand and 2 censures. And in 2020, it was 1 reprimand, 2 censures, and 1 ineligibility to take the exam. For exam candidates, in 2018, we had 1 reprimand and 1 probation. In 2019, we had a reprimand, a censure, probation, and an ineligibility and reprimand, as well as 2 ineligibilities. In 2020, we had 4 reprimands, 1 censure, 2 probations, and 2 ineligibilities. There we go. Sorry about that. Sanctions for OTs in 2018. You can see 3 reprimands, 2 each of censure, probation, and voluntary forfeiture. We had 14 suspensions and 1 revocation. In 2019, we had 1 each of reprimand, probation, emergency suspension, and voluntary surrender, and then 4 each of censure and suspension. And then in 2020, we had 2 each of reprimand, censure, and voluntary surrender, 1 each of probation and revocation, and 4 suspensions. Again, that was for OTs. For OTAs in 2018, we had 1 each of censure and probation and 10 suspensions. In 2019, we had 1 each of reprimand and probation, 5 suspensions, and 3 voluntary surrender. And then in 2020, we had 1 reprimand, 1 probation, 1 voluntary surrender, 3 censures, and 4 suspensions.
Barbara, I have a quick question. Actually, 2 questions. These numbers are nationwide stats or just Louisiana?
Nationwide. This is for everybody. Yeah, no, not just you folks.
Okay,
Yeah.
just checking. And
This is the information that we share with all of the reg boards to see what we're doing. Do you have another question?
Yeah, and so when people are taking action or going to the website and turning people in, these are obviously only people with that are NBCOT certified. What happens if they are turned in or information is shared that they are not? Do y'all share that with the states?
We do. We do. Okay. Yes, most certainly. So again, we just consider our partnership with you, just that, a partnership. So yes, we most certainly communicate any information like that we receive. And if we take a sanction on someone, that's in your state, we would contact you as well. Good question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, now I'm going to share a bit of information about what we call the OT Action Exchange. And basically, this is a complimentary national repository with exclusive access for the state regulatory board administrators. It is voluntary reporting where they communicate to NBCOT any disciplinary action they have taken. And again, we just look at this as a collaborative effort, in our partnership to serve or protect the public. This Action Exchange does have a multi-search functionality. So a board administrator can go on there to see any state actions or NBCOT actions. We did populate this so it has historical data since 2016. And it's available to the on the NBCOT certification portal for state regulatory administrators. Just to give you an idea of what it looks like, the administrator would go to their access page and click on OT Action Exchange. This is what the search functionality looks like. They can put in an individual's name and then either their social security number or their certification number. And then you can see results that would come up. It's divided down into state board actions that are reported to us, as well as NBCOT actions that are taken. And currently there are a number of states that, are really using this, that are accessing this feature, obviously to keep track of individuals that, are practicing in their state or wanting to practice in their state. It does have a print functionality. That was what regulatory board administrators indicated to us. It was important that they be able to have a hard copy of this information. So that is available as well. But, it's again, something that we want to do working in partnership with regulatory boards. We do have on our website verification of certification, and anyone, even from the public, can check to see if an individual is certified. We have noticed another trend. We really try to keep trends of what's going on. And in the last few years, the public's use of this feature on our website has greatly increased. Patients, clients, family members are really interested to see if folks are certified with NBCOT. I was talking to another group a couple weeks ago about some other NBCOT aspects, but we were talking about certification. And I said, a few years ago, I had a very close family member going through some significant healthcare issues, and we were looking for healthcare individuals, for him. And, we found ourselves looking for that board certification that carried a lot of clout with us. And sometimes we don't think of that ourselves because we carry this certification. We don't recognize the significance this certification can have. But yes, in the last several years, the public has really started using this feature on our website to find out if the OT practitioners providing their therapy to them themselves or loved ones is actually certified with NBCOT. But this is available, as I said, to the public, to our certificates, to regulatory board administrators.
Barbara, I have a question.
Absolutely, yes.
What would the public see if an occupational therapist or a CODA was initially certified, taking the exam and passing it, but then didn't keep up with their certification? What would show up for the public on that?
Just that they're not currently certified. Does that make sense? So it's knowing, obviously it's not obvious to the public, but they were initially certified, but they didn't maintain their certification. So that's what they would see.
So it basically show up as not currently certified.
Right. And Ingrid, don't quote me on those exact words. I mean, it's something like that. It's like, not currently certified or has not maintained certification or something like that. Or the name just doesn't come up, that they're not there. But it's not, they aren't given information of when this certification lapsed or anything like that. It's just an indication that they are not currently certified with NBCOT. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Okay, now we're going to talk a little bit about our navigator tools. And I'm not sure how familiar all of you are with these tools, but I want to share some information about them. So it was very important to our management team, to our board of directors, to make sure that these navigator tools are based in evidence. So, you know, our navigator tools are our competency assessment tools, tools for professional development that we offer to all of our OTRs and COTAs. They're free to them. They're available 24/7 on our website. I've got somebody entering the waiting room. Should I let them in? V. Collada, I think that's your physician. Yeah, okay.
Yes, please let them in.
Sorry, I'm sorry. It just came up on my screen. I'm like, oh. So anyway, back to Navigator. Yeah, so, you know, we want to offer something to our certificants to help them in their professional development. And, you know, our board was very, very insistent that, one, they be based in evidence, and two, they be practice relevant, that they be free, and that they're available to them whenever certificants want to engage in them. So, you know, we were presented with this charge, and the Navigator tools were released in 2015. But, you know, to address that evidence portion of it, what we did in 2019 is we performed what we call an ongoing professional practice analysis. And this was to identify the major areas of responsibility and the primary job tasks that characterize the practice of OT, but at the point of certification renewal. Now, you heard me say earlier in regard to the exam, we perform a practice analysis to come up with content for the exam. But, you know, we talked about how can we come up with relevant content for these tools. You know, it's like we got to perform a practice analysis, but not on entry-level practitioners, on folks that have been practicing for a while. We've made a great investment in this, but if it's not meeting OTRs and COTA's needs, then, you know, it's not helping us address our mission. It's not going to be fruitful. So we performed this practice analysis study, the most recent one in 2019. I'm sorry, folks. Sometimes this just doesn't want to advance for me. There we go. So what we did was we had a face-to-face meeting with a diverse group of both OTRs and COTAs. And that was held in April of 2019. And we came up with a content outline. Then we sent out a survey to post entry-level certificates. So individuals, you know, I described entry-level certificates as those who have passed the exam within the last 3 years. So this survey was sent out to anyone that had been certified for more than 3 years. The study established a link between current OT practice and then NBCOT certification renewal programs, as well as our tools. We wanted to make sure what we're developing represents current practice and the needs of our certificants. So what came from that was 6 domains. And you heard me describe the content of the exam's domains as general competencies. So out of this practice analysis survey, we got 6 domains, 6 general competencies. And those are described as providing client-centered care, working in interprofessional teams, employing evidence-based practice, applying quality improvement, utilizing informatics, and professional responsibility. Now, remember again, this came from our colleagues, you know, OTRs and COTAs that are practicing. These are the things that came out of that. So these are the domains that guide our tool development. Any tool that we develop, it needs to fall into one of these categories. So here's a video about this navigator tool.
Did you know there's an award-winning online tool that can help you assess your competency across all areas of occupational therapy? And it enables you to engage in lifelike practice situations using serious gaming technology. You didn't know this? Then it's time to check out NBCOT Navigator, a virtual continuing competency assessment platform. You can use the Navigator to earn units towards renewal, develop your OT knowledge and skills, and stay current in your practice. NBCOT Navigator is made up of almost 100 tools that cover a wide range of practice areas. For example, you can use the case simulations to assess fine motor skills delay. You can take a mini practice quiz on skilled nursing, or you can use the OT Knowledge Library to get more information on cognitive impairments, and much, much more. The Navigator can help you bridge the gap between assessment and knowledge. After completing a Navigator tool and viewing the recommended reading, you can identify activities that will contribute to your competency development. Using Navigator is also one of many optional activities that may be used for partial fulfillment of your NBCOT certification renewal. And depending on where you live, your state's continuing education or competency requirements for licensure renewal purposes. The best part? Navigator tools are offered at no charge to current OTR and COTA certificates. It's easy to access Navigator. Just log into your MyNBCOT account and click on the Navigator button. What are you waiting for?
Well, that gives you a broad overview of these Navigator tools. And just to reiterate, we view these as competency assessment tools that are a place to start. And, you know, they are a bridge for other activities, including state association conferences, college university courses, national conferences, employer-sponsored offerings. You know, we by no means think these are the way. We think that they're one way. These tools don't get developed unless there's evidence supporting these tools. We bring together subject matter experts from across the country to develop these tools. And, you know, often, I shouldn't say often, there's been times when they've come up with some great ideas for a tool, but we can't find the research supporting it. So when that's the case, they don't get developed. So they're all steeped in evidence. And our investment in this is that we want to support certificates. We want to have that partnership with them. And, you know, we firmly believe that if we can help OTRs and COTAs be better evidence-based practitioners, then that can in turn help us address our mission of serving the public interest. Folks can start the Navigator with taking a self-reflection that just indicates information about their practice or maybe their change in practice. And this will guide them to particular tools that would pertain to their practice. Now, you don't have to use this to start with the Navigator tools, but because there are so many tools, you know, sometimes folks are thinking about, you know, what, I don't know even what tools apply to me. And that's one of the things of, well, a couple things about these tools. First of all, you know, they are available online, even on tablets. And I'm not a technology person, as you can probably see me having a hard time advancing these slides at times, but I'm not a tech person. It's not been something that's ever been of great interest to me. And I haven't studied it. I haven't learned it well. So I can tell you when these tools came out, I was a bit intimidated by them. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do any of this. And I was in the group that was, you know, the NBCOT staff that was developing these tools. And I was a bit overwhelmed thinking, I don't know if I can do this, but I can tell you that our staff has worked really hard to make sure that these are user friendly. And they, you know, as you may have seen in the video, they go all the way from case simulations that are interactive to even quizzes that you can take. And just a quick story, there's one tool that was developed that involved more technology aspects. And my colleagues gave it to me to play to see if I could navigate my way through it, because, it was kind of like, if Barb can do it, anybody can do it. And I had trouble. And so I went back to them and I'm like, folks, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. So anyway, they used me to make sure that it can be navigated. So if you haven't tried them, I would encourage you, if you're like me and technology isn't your thing, I would encourage you to look into them. The video is a little bit outdated. We do have over 111 tools now. And, the thing that one of the things I'm proud of about this is that these are practice relevant. We all know, folks, and I know you see it as, on members of the regulatory board, licensure board, that, they participate in professional development to get those units, right? To get that continuing education. And sometimes it really doesn't even apply to their practice. But it was local and it was free. And, we get it. But these tools there's so many tools that they really can be practice relevant. If you're an OTR working in a school setting, there are specific tools just for that. There are specific tools for settings, for practice areas, for diagnoses, for responsibilities. So they really are practice relevant, and again, based in evidence. These are the various types of tools. Just to reiterate, there are orthotic builder tools. There's various case simulations. We have a research tool we call PICO. There's the OT Knowledge Library, a game you can play. They're matching games. There are many practice quizzes. These look like, an exam that you might take, but they're quizzes. You're presented with 3 options. There's games on physical agent modalities, and there's even a management challenge game. And in full disclosure, it was that management game that I had trouble with, that I'm like, folks, I don't know how to do this. They tried guiding me through it, saying it's very, it's similar to like Sim City. And I'm like, you don't get it. I've never played Sim City. I need some direction here. But as you can see, all types of different tools are offered. The case simulations all come with course descriptions and assessment objectives. These objectives might indicate something like demonstrate the use of clinical reasoning to provide evidence-based OT services, or identify practice areas for continued professional development. These objectives also can be to assess evidence-based resources for ongoing continuing competence. So we've heard from regulatory boards that they find these course descriptions and assessment objectives particularly helpful, because they can determine that these are appropriate for continuing education in their jurisdictions. Excited, in 2021, we have some new case simulations coming out. We have one on burns, one on oncology, and one on spinal cord injury. We also have one on ethics that we've gotten great feedback from regulatory board administrators that are using this. If they're taking disciplinary action against individuals, they might even refer them to look into our ethics case. And then for the COTA, we have caregiver education and dementia and fall prevention coming out this year. And those are soon to be released. So states accepting the Navigator, there are 43 states, as well as DC, that accept the Navigator. Now, 4 states do not have continuing education. So they're not going to be accepting the Navigator because they don't have that requirement. So currently it's Louisiana, Tennessee, and Wisconsin. We have heard from Tennessee that they have something written out that they're ready to take forward to get Navigator recognized. We are working with Wisconsin, and we would like the opportunity to work with you folks as well if you think it's appropriate. Just some testimonials from individuals that have participated in the Navigator. Currently in a season where I've stepped away from the workforce for a little bit, but the Navigator is one of the tools that has helped me maintain or confirm certain skills and keep my OT mind sharp with staying up to date with evidence. So you can see even someone that's not currently practicing might use these tools. I found the case studies to be the most realistic tool for promoting critical thinking skills. For example, that assesses the client's needs by allowing me to identify the most appropriate evaluation tools, therapy strategies, and accommodations that are tailored to the client and his ideal outcomes. Another one, because it's based on latest research, current practices, and evidence-based, it is an empowering tool. It made me feel competent and helped to identify additional areas of professional development to increase competency. Going back to the evidence thing, I just want to let you know that you participate in a tool, you get the research that supports that tool. And once we develop a tool, we don't just let it sit. The competency assessment team that works on these tools has these tools in a rotation where they're revisited every so many years to make sure that the current evidence is still there supporting these tools. Navigator has received recognition. This wasn't by any means why we embarked on this journey and developed these tools, but in 2018, our Navigator tools did receive the ICE Innovator Award from the Institute for Credentialing Excellence. The Association of Test Publishers awarded the Navigator tools with the best new product demonstration in 2016. And Serious Play Conference awarded the Navigator tools a Silver Award in 2016. And Serious Play is just words that they use in regard to games that are not played just for fun, but to help educate or have an assessment component to them. So that was about the Navigator. In regard to certification renewal benefits, we also offer ProQuest, access to ProQuest. So, as you may know, OT and OTA programs, their library services gives students access to various search engines. But when students graduate, many academic institutions no longer give you access to those types of resources. So NBCOT has invested in ProQuest, and all OTRs and COTAs have access to this search tool. When you participate in a Navigator tool, you are provided with readings from ProQuest that support that tool. You can simply click on a link and open that article, or you can have that article emailed to you with a simple click so that you can look at it later. But again, we just believe that this investment in ProQuest can help OTRs and COTAs be better evidence-based practitioners, and in turn help us meet our mission, serving the public interest. We do also offer an assessment tool. Individuals use these for various reasons, such as being able to show competence in particular areas or to guide their professional development. So these are available to anyone as well that is certified. We also offer digital badges to OTRs and COTAs. These are dynamic. If you click on them, they give information about your certification. And what we hear from folks is they like to include these on their professional email signatures, as well as various social media platforms, to indicate that they are nationally board certified. And then, we offer various volunteer opportunities. These are great to meet up with colleagues, learn from them, and even to mentor other folks. It's a great networking opportunity and certainly benefits us at NBCOT in regard to what we do in regard to certification resources and services and products. And then, of course, the benefit of helping to obtain licensure in another state. When those boards are contacting NBCOT to find out if an individual is licensed or is certified with us, can help with that initial licensure in another state. So with that, I just want to thank you for your time. I had a fair amount of information, and I thank you for the questions that you have, but I would be glad to address any other questions you might have.
Question, Barbara.
Yes.
What is the how many hours is that ethics course that's offered? Like, what is the credit that you get for that?
So It's a case simulation, and I think it's 0.5. So it's
Okay.
not hours, because some folks are efficient going through it and some of them are not.
Okay.
So it's not indicated in that way. But if you look in the certification renewal handbook that's on our website, on page 4, actually, we have a chart that converts like competency assessment to PDUs to continuing education, the different units that are used. So it's not a direct hour wise.
Okay. Okay.
Good
We're
question.
we're trying to add ethics as part of our licensure requirements too. So if they, okay.
Yeah. So and you should have access to that as OTRs in the very near future. So,
Okay.
you can get on and play it and see what you think of it, and see if you think, it would be helpful. But, in regard to the navigator, I would like to answer any questions you folks might have about it, since you are one of 3 states that don't recognize it.
And Barbara, oh wait, am I unmuted? Yes, I am.
No, yeah, I can hear you, Amy. Yeah, all good.
I did press to be unmuted. One of the things, and we're going to talk about it today too, but we've been working and going through all of our rules and things, of course, continuing education being one of those. And, we've moved to CE broker as far as the auditing for all of our things. So we had to find and define some more national and state level, official entities that can help with that. So we're hoping to, or in our rules, we're wanting to name NBCOT, AOTA, LOTA kind of thing. So that we hope is coming up. Like I said, we're in the sort of rule revision area. We just moved to CE broker and those sorts of things. So it's a coming.
Yeah. Well, I just want to make sure, if there are any questions, please, any of you, don't hesitate to reach out to us. You can email me, bwilliams@nbcot.org. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a question?
Yes. Does NBCOT operate directly to companies like CE broker, where once somebody takes the course and they say, we're with Louisiana and this is our license number, you all then send it directly to the brokerage house that manages the continuing education credits?
That is an excellent question, because we are just starting a partnership with them. So I can tell you that that's something that we were, every year we have a regulatory leadership forum. And we were going to see if someone from that organization could come speak at that forum, because we have just started a partnership with them. Yes. So thank you for asking that question. And I'm so pleased that I could share that answer.
Well, I'm trying to make it as easy as possible for our licensees, whether there be any discipline whatsoever, to be able to get the best kind of continuing education. And we document to the legislature and the public that everybody who gets a license from us is getting quality CME.
Yeah. Thank you. Excellent point. But I really appreciate that question. Yeah. But as I said,
did someone else ask? This is Ingrid.
You can go, Ingrid.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is not really a question so much as just a comment, I guess, or to let my fellow OTAC members know that one of our faculty member here, Mark Blanchard, is on the team. He has been for years working with the navigator questions. And I can attest to the fact that he is a true expert in neuro rehab. He goes annually to a meeting with other OTs from around the country, and they develop the navigator questions. They tweak them. They create the cases. And he always comes back from those meetings. This last year's was held remotely, but he always comes back very psyched about it and thinks it's a great tool. So I'm just passing that on.
And Ingrid, I want to thank you for sharing that. And please tell Mark hello for me. He worked on a committee for me for a while, and he was always a pleasure. So it was a sidebar. Darby, did you have something?
Yeah, Barbara, thank you. I think it was Leslie had mentioned some questions about the case simulations for ethics. If we were to offer the referral as a suggestion to someone who we feel like may need a refresher course or as part of a review process and something that they were reported for. I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, that they would have to be certified with NBCOT to use the simulator. Is that correct?
Darby, that's an excellent question. And I can tell you we're currently talking about that internally. Anyone that is an OTR or COTA does have access. But because we're getting this request from regulatory boards for this reason, if there's that great value in it, we are talking about that now. So it is something that's on our plate because, again, we value our partnerships with you folks. And if you see that value in something we're offering, we want to have that discussion of should we make it open to more individuals. So excellent question.
Okay, good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else with any questions? Or from public comments? Any questions on public comments? JACINTHA?
I don't have any at this time.
Okay.
Well, again, if you have anything after the fact, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, bwilliams@nbcot.org. I've been communicating with Amy and JACINTHA. If, they have my email address. If you, lose it, misplace it, but I really do want to thank you for the opportunity today to share this information with you. I do know that Amy has been talking to our folks about, meeting with you in regard to the licensure compact. So you'll get the pleasure of hearing from my colleague, Sean Conway, at some point, as he's he's our contact person in regard to that. But we really do value our relationship with you folks. And I just consider it a privilege to talk to you today. So thank you for your time.
Same. And thank you so much, Barbara, for wanting to share with us. We really appreciate it.
Most certainly.
All right. So I think, she moved it back. Oh, I'm the host now. How about that? Okay. So here we go. We're going to go back to our agenda. Okay, so we've talked about we had the NBCOT presentation. Thank you again, Barb. And now we're going to talk about the CE broker email blast. And this is just I just wanted to let you guys kind of know what's going on. So of course, Dr. Van and I had spoke with each other. We've had a lot or a few questions starting because CE brokers being used as of January. And of course, we're now in March. Geez, where does the year go? But we're having a lot of questions with, well, I put this one in and, oh, hang on one second. I'm admitting someone. Susie's coming in. So having a lot of questions about, well, I did this continuing education. It's not AOTA approved. Will you approve it? Those sorts of things. And so we wanted to be able to at least get the word out. Obviously, we've not officially changed our rules yet, but we wanted to sort of get the word out for those that are coming up with their continuing education and, sort of suggesting that AOTA, NBCOT, and LOTA continuing education units, PDUs, things like that are, what CE brokers sort of, I guess, formula is looking for. Of course, the suggestion was that we send an email blast out to all licensees to let them know this. And so I've, between myself and Darby and Leslie, we kind of worked up something. I sent it to Dr. Van and then he made some other suggestions that we need to sort of add to it. So it's still in the works. We're going to be sending it out. I hope next week, fingers crossed. And then after that, everybody should be a little bit more informed about that. I think what Dr. Van kind of indicated is they're not necessarily denying anybody that didn't really know that this was going on right now, but or that these changes are coming, but we definitely want to let them know they're coming. And so that honestly was just really just wanted to make sure you guys were in the know about all of that. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts or anything about that?
was thinking about this a lot, and just knowing and talking to other practitioners and their awareness. Is there any way we can monitor who has seen it and who hasn't? So in other words, if we send out the email blast and like half of our emails are incorrect, like we have no way of knowing like how many people we're actually getting to and are receiving the information.
I have to be honest with you, Dr. Van may be able to answer that better, but I'm pretty sure there's no way that they can, that's the only way they have to contact everyone. It's so
Right.
that's why we should stress with all licensees that you have up-to-date, accurate information in there, a good email address, make sure that, you know, your phone numbers are good, not that we're calling them, but you know, the email address is the best way. And I'm sure if you guys have seen, I mean, for me, I've gotten on my email address tons of things from LSPME, not necessarily regarding occupational therapy, but just the whole in general COVID, you know, everything that's going on with that and things that you should look for and realize, and regulations and different things. So, you know, the best thing we can tell them is make sure you have a very accurate all the time piece of information about how to get in touch with you, especially email, because that's how they tell everyone. That's how they tell all the docs. That's how, you know.
We do have a
Yeah,
way
I agree. I think it's incumbent upon the licensee to make sure that your information's up to date when you're renewing every year. You really need to make sure it's there because you need to make sure that you're able to receive the most up-to-date information.
Right. Dr. Van, you were going to say something?
We do have a system. If emails bounce back, if emails are not accepted, if emails are discontinued, and I will try and get some of those reports and send them to you, and then you can share them with the rest of the committee, and the committee can split those names up. And if they know them, contact them and say, man, you need to fix your email address with the board, or you're going to get in trouble, and that kind of stuff. But we do it is the burden of the licensee to provide us with the information, and we do try and get everybody to do that at every renewal. But, you know, sometimes what we see, particularly in docs, is that they don't open their own email. They have this email sent to their staff, and their staff opens it, and then they sometimes address the issue and don't even tell the doc. And then the doc calls me up and said, well, why? I said, you already did it. You took care of it. And they say, oh, well, my staff took care of it. I said, well, then don't complain to me. You know?
Thank your staff and move on.
Yeah.
Indeed. So
I have a process question about CE Broker.
Sure.
So currently we're still, meaning OTAC is still the approval process for continuing ed programs. And after you send that to us, Amy, and we say approve, what happens after that, after we've all approved it?
We then send the information to CE Broker. CE Broker then adds it to the list of approved courses.
Okay.
And then when somebody submits that course, they get the credit for it.
And when we say that all LOTA and AOTA sponsored courses are automatic, how does CE Broker know that? Okay,
so obviously you have not put in any in the system, so I will tell you.
Not yet, I haven't.
Okay, so it actually asks a question: who sponsors the course, and who is the approver of the course?
All right.
So they will ask that question, and we work with them to make sure those questions are accurate. And if you come up with some problems, you let us know. But you know, maybe it might be helpful if you guys have a few minutes. I'll show you how easy it is to put stuff in. If Jacinta would let me pull up something, and she makes me the host, I'll show you something. So I'm going to just pull up CE Broker on one of my other windows. Now, one of the things that I want to show you, and if I can get there.
I think I need to stop my share. Sorry.
Well, no, you can just, somebody makes me the host and I'll do my share.
All right, let's see. Jacinta's now the host, and then she'll be changing you.
Okay,
Jacinta, she knows it all.
That's my right hand. That lady.
She's the one that does your stuff, and then people call about it. She's amazing. She's definitely good right hand.
Okay, so let's do this. All right. So now I'm coming back to you. And I have a screen share authorization. So I'm going to pick this. Okay. So I think you should be able to see something that says simple CE tracking, CE broker. Can everybody see that?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm going to first tell you that this right here has seemed to cause more disconsternation than anything. So I'm going to click on plans and show you. So if it doesn't know you're from Louisiana, it'll ask you what state. You pick Louisiana, and then you'll see the plans. Now, look, CE brokers in business to make money. Capitalism was make the world go round, and that's why they got the bid, because they were the low bidder. But if you look here, there's 3 plans. Basic, okay? See, it says no cost, okay? Now, what many of my doctors say, oh, free trial. Then they want to know why I have to give a credit card if it's free, because you're going to use the plan. My docs didn't even see this, so I have to keep showing it to them. So I've got this road show I've been taking around the country, or I should say the state, and I'm showing them this. And then, of course, if you want, this helps you. It does a lot, really nice stuff. And then this service over here for $100 a year basically does everything but take you to the bathroom. So in terms of this, but I have to show you, we're going to show you that this is really easy. And so the next step I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sign in.
So bottom line, Dr. Van, is that the applicants should be choosing the free.
The basic, no
basic
cost.
free. Okay.
They get confused with free trial and no cost.
Gotcha.
And they're completely different. One costs them $29 and the other one is no cost. All right, so when you get signed in, you would say OT, OTA, whatever. It's going to have your license number. And then as you can see here, it has a status. Now, I am complete for the year 2021, but I'll show you how easy it is to report. And when you put something in, it keeps a transcript for you, okay? And I suggest that if you're using the no cost version, at the end of the year, print your PDF report and keep it on file. Because while CE Broker never gets rid of it, it's a little harder to get. This is the easiest way to get it. So that if you happen to be licensed in another state that doesn't use CE Broker, you can send them this transcript and most other states will accept it. But nonetheless, let's go back to how to put something in. And so you click on this button to report CE Broker or report CE. And so there are 3 types to report for the doctor, and we'll modify this for you. Category 1, we have 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour. We might take a series of courses like I like to do from the JAMA, and I'll get a transcript that might have 15 hours over 20 weeks, and I'll submit that. And so you could submit a whole transcript. So if you took a series of courses from like the Navigator, you could upload the Navigator. But if the Navigator is going to do this for you, it's going to be so much easier. And I will tell you, the American College of Surgeons is now doing it. Lamico, who does a number of education hours for our docs, are doing it. Oxford is going to do it for their continuing education. Hospitals all over the state are looking at it. So it's going to be something I think is going to be very good. And then we have a specialized course requirement where, for example, if you require ethics every year or every 2 years, it would be here. We have a one-time requirement for doctors to take continuing control of the dangerous substance prescribing. And that would only change if they change the law to say it has to be every year, every 2 years. But this is where we put those specialized ethics if you choose to do it. But let's go back to the easy one and I'll show you. So did you tell the date you completed the course? So you can do it a number of ways. We've completed the course on 2/21. Or I can say I completed it today if I wanted to, okay? So it's real easy in that regard. So then you tell it how many credits are hours. And so we'll just say 1.5. We've made it so it'll take as low as 0.25. All right. Continue. And what's the name of the course that you completed? I might say mating habits of sperm whales. Okay. And then I would say continue. And then who was the provider? So you could say the NBCOT. Okay. Continue. Who accredits it? So these are the ones for docs. So it might even be the ACCME, but whatever one it is accredited, you click on that. Hit continue. And then you be prepared to complete the document. You see attached document. And then it's going to say you can either drag, drop, or browse. So I happen to keep a lot of my CEs in a certain area in my computer files. So I could just go to that, click on the file, hit open, and it's going to be uploaded. And then all I would say is I could do this, open it, and it's going to load that file. And then I would say continue. And all you have to do is hit submit CE. So as soon as you hit submit CE, with usually in 3 to 5 minutes, it's going to appear on the transcript that I showed you earlier, and you're done for that particular course. Or if it's a transcript of numerous hours, you can do it that way too. So it's extremely easy. It's a little, for some reason, some people get intimidated by it, but it really is very, very easy. It is a different way of doing it. I recognize that. But I will tell you also what it does is it does have CME courses. If you're in a jam, you need 2 or 3 hours and you need it right away. You can say, okay, I want to find CE courses for Louisiana and select your profession. We might put, physician and surgeons or whatever you might be. And it'll list courses that you can take quickly, get them done online, and be finished. And, so if it's 3 o'clock on the 30th of the month for a doctor, the day before he expires, he might be willing to pay 18 hours to get 2 hours and get it done. So again, this is the kind of stuff that's out there for you, but you can take these things from anything we approve. For docs, it's rather easy. If it's a category 1 CME approved by the AMA, it's approved. That's why we can try to go to national approvals so that it's easier for you all. And I think the key is you then assure everybody that those mom and pops are really nationally recognized kinds of things that are best interest of patients. So you have any more questions about CE broker? Otherwise, I'll turn this back over to you and I'll get out your way and let's keep listening.
I'm so happy you did that. I'm kind of thinking to myself, I want to do it and put a YouTube video out there for people like, hey, this is how you do it.
Yes, thank you for that.
Yeah, that was wonderful. And it does not look very hard, right?
I see 6 categories for OT. And if, let's say someone chooses the wrong category to put their course in, will it automatically merge it into the correct category or does it even matter?
Well, you're gonna have, we don't care. Let me say this to you. For example, if I can take an internal medicine CE, it still counts for me.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't want that to count, you'll have to tell us. But my feeling is anything you learn is better than learning nothing. And so if you wanted to say it has to be in your specific category, then we'll make it happen that way.
We don't have to have specific categories. I just didn't know, like for academia, we do a lot of ACOT courses. So if that would go into the initial presentations made before recognized group directly related to OT, or does that go in a different?
Well, again, for OTs, you're going to tell us what you want to be recognized.
Okay.
And if you don't tell us it's going to be recognized, it's not going to be recognized.
Kelly, are those recognized by AOTA, NBCOT, any of that? Are they considered a provider?
It's Accreditation Council for OT, so it's our,
Right, but like, is it, or do they? Well, I guess they don't have to be a provider specific. But yeah, I mean, this is sort of like it's a learning curve right now. I mean, we felt like the best way to sort of go about it and you know, sort of make it a formula was that we went with our national organizations and our state organizations. You know, ACOT completely makes sense to me if they're the ones certifying that our universities are following all along the, you know, the lines of where they need to be and do and all that. That makes sense.
I don't have any doubt that they'll be
confirmed, yeah,
a provider, but I just didn't know when I put it in which category to choose, or does it, if it doesn't matter, then that's fine.
It's going to give you a category to choose based upon what you tell us. So just like we looked at the one that said ACC at GME, those are people that accredit category 1 CMEs. When you tell us you want NBCOT, LOTA, ACOT, that's where that box, you'll check those boxes or fill in that blank, highlight that dot.
So it'll just be that generic of a category then.
Yeah.
Just did you get this through AOTA? Did you get it through NBCOT or LOTA? So that actually would be way simpler to me.
Yeah, it is way simpler. Right? It's just you have, in other words, you might, the course might be, you know, presented by ULL in Lafayette, but it's still going to be LOTA approved. So the provider is ULL, the approver is LOTA.
Right. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you again for showing that, because that's amazing, and does look very simple. I've had several people ask me some questions, and I just haven't been able to get on yet. And of course, you know, waiting to hear other things from people because my birthday is not till August, so you know, kind of thing. Susie, you're raising your hand.
I just want to, you know, add to what Dr. Van said. You know, our rules state that your committee is who decides these things. What is appropriate CME? And so, you know, you have to arrive at your consensus based on national and standard. But if you say to us, such and such offers good courses, we think they should be part of what is accepted, we tell CE Broker, and it's there almost immediately. I mean, it's literally an email. Please include this provider or these courses. And so it really is, you know, we defer by rule to your committee because you know your professional standards best. And then we convey it to CE Broker. So in terms of these issues of categories or whatever, you know, you are the most aware of your national standards and what is best practice, both in practice and in, you know, CEs. And so, you know, we defer to you, and CE Broker essentially defers to you through us.
Okay. Okay. Well, and I will say this, you know, all the little moms and pops that are coming to us right now, you know, for continuing education approval, that eventually can move to LOTA, and LOTA is, you know, we have some.
Well, let me say this to you. You have to look at them, but you do not have to approve any of them.
Okay.
You have that choice. This is what you do. You may say as a committee, we believe it is in the best interest that we do not approve any of these, and we change to a standardized format of national approval or state or society approval or whatever. And then we'll do that for you. But again, if you're going to stay in the business of approving them, that's fine. Or you can just say, we're going to stay in the business of looking at them, but we're not going to approve any of them. We believe they should transfer to national pending the rule changes, and that you can do.
Okay. Yes, which I believe is what we worked on with our rules for sure. So that's looks like the direction we're wanting to head for sure.
I have as a 2-unit CEU provider I go through the system of getting approval for what I do. So, I would not want that. Like I the physical therapy academic fieldwork coordinator and I do continuing eds that the board has approved for two units to various OTs about how to be fieldwork educators, and we're just, I guess we're a mom and pop, you know, we fill out the form through LSBME and we send it in, and it gets sent around just like all the approvals we've had. So
which would happen at LOTA now. It's not
right. Okay, yes, I'm look forward to the day we can switch it over to them.
Switch it over now.
Do it now. Make it happen. Okay. Well, does anybody else have any other comments or thoughts or concerns or questions or? And then is there anything on the public comment, Jacintha?
No public comments at this time.
Okay. All right. Is it back to where I can share?
Me?
It's changing you right now, Amy.
All right. Perfect. Okay, so the next one, it kind of goes along with all these things that we're talking about. And it is, let's see. Oh, no, sorry. Let me pull that. That was the wrong one. Wrong share. Okay, so we had a little guy that was asking, and this is just one of those things that's come up, you know, CE broker, etc. He is sort of the head of you know, his area where he works and all that kind of stuff, and he's preparing to do his licensure in March. He's registered in the new CEU portal, typically does administrative CEUs to support his practice over a rehab department at a children's hospital. He's completed a certification with this Lean Six Sigma. Okay, it's quality improvement stuff. When registering on the portal, it only lets him do courses that are AOTA or LOTA approved. This certification is not part of AOTA or LOTA, and so he was wanting to know if he could count it. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna stop sharing that and go back to this. So this is just sort of the information he sent about this. It's called Lean Six Sigma Black Belt Online Training Certification. I kind of wanted, you know, this is going to be some of those things that are coming up for us, and so I want to make sure that you guys see it. But it's a training program online. I'm sorry, it's an online certification. This is kind of what they learn. They take an examination. You can see that top yellow box. On average, people finish the program in 3 to 6 weeks. They can spend 1 to 3 hours a day if they're doing it 5 days a week. Sounds like a lot. So this is sort of saying what you'll learn. It does say if you take the examination and you fail it, you can take it as many times as you want, no additional cost, etc. So you take it till you pass it, kind of deal. But when it came across and it said black belt certification, I was like, wait, we're not ninjas. No, I'm just kidding. I think it's just the name of it.
It is. And I'm familiar with Lean Six Sigma, and it is definitely purely a management. It's improvement. It's for people who are managers. It would have nothing to do with the practice of occupational therapy.
Yeah, it's nothing clinical.
Nothing at all.
Everybody, because we do a lot of the lean training here. So I have my yellow belt, and but it's nothing that is clinical. So I wouldn't say that it should be counted as continuing education.
I agree 100% with Leslie. This is now physical therapy. I know they've got all their CEUs divided up.
That is routine and not scary. Oh. Are you dealing with that too?
I'm gonna keep moving down a little bit. Qualified to manage and lead project teams. I mean,
are you going to have something cut off at some point, or hopefully not, or what?
Be a manager or in a management position of OTs?
It's
Susie, you may want to mute because I feel like we can hear a conversation you're in.
Amy, do you know if he's in management of OTs?
Yes, of OTs. Yeah, he's over a children's hospital, like the rehab section, I believe. So,
Yeah,
and
no, I know people who've had it done. I mean, you're basically hobbling around and can't exercise and stuff.
Amy, you're gonna have to mute Susie.
Yeah, you're gonna have to mute her.
I don't know how to do it. Okay, hold on. Susie is. Oh, can y'all hear me now?
Yep, thank you.
Okay. Okay. So I'm sorry because mine kept going out, my own internet. So this just really looks like management stuff, which is of course a part of being OT, but not managing, not actual occupational, based practice things. But so I'm sorry if I missed what anybody kind of said there. I did want to show y'all, this is what the certification looks like, which is, pretty generic. It doesn't say how many hours they spend on it. I mean, you can imagine it sounds like 1 to 3 hours a day times, 5 days a week for 3 to 6 weeks. That's a lot of time, but that's a lot of time you're putting into being a manager, it sounds like to me. So I apologize if I missed anybody saying anything and if I'm repeating anything y'all have said. So, if you can make some more comments. Because
okay, well, basically Leslie and I had both agreed that we're familiar with it and that it is a purely management continuing education that has really nothing to do with the practice of occupational therapy.
Okay.
And we don't license managers at the agency. We license therapists.
Right.
So it really should be clinical based training.
It comes out of like Toyota's production line. It's like they're how they need things lean and it's
efficient.
Nothing clinical at all. So I appreciate that it took a long time, but I don't think it's not a clinical based thing. It didn't make them a better therapist because of it.
Okay. Made him a decent manager, hopefully, but not necessarily that. Okay. So, sort of my response to that at this point then would be that he needs to pursue something that's more clinical in nature and occupation based, possibly through AOTA, LOTA, and BCOT.
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
You guys feel okay with the response to that?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Are there any other questions or concerns from anyone regarding this black belt question? Okay.
Any comments from the public?
Yeah.
No public comments at this time.
No public comments. Okay.
I do have a quick question, Amy.
Oh, sure.
Not about this black belt thing. I think that's pretty clear cut, but going back to the CE broker, just because our students are a different kind of students, we have the bridge program, so they're already practicing clinicians as CODAs. So a lot of them, or most of them, want to use their college credit in the bridge program as their CEUs because they spend quite a bit of money and quite a bit of time, and it is relevant to their career as an OT. Mm-hmm. How can that be put into CE broker, or can it be?
Well,
let me ask a question. If you want to put it into CE broker, tell me what's the difference between these clinicals and say a residency program for a doctor.
I don't really know what a residency program entails.
Wait, I'm sorry. Hold on. Let's clarify the question real quick, Dr. Van. Okay, so you are talking about a student that finished with OTA school and they are bridging into being an occupational therapist, which means they still have to go to more college credit. So they're a CODA, they're an OT assistant, but they're needing more college classes to become an occupational therapist. So they're asking those college classes, how do we get those to count as their continuing education for the occupational therapy assistant who's licensed but trying to be an OT?
All right, well, let me ask a question then to clarify so that I understand. How long can somebody stay an OTA?
As long as they want.
As long as they want.
So you could be a lifetime OTA.
Right.
Well, then I think they should have to have, I think you should say, then OTAs have to have continuing education that's approved, because basically if you say, oh, you can use your college credits, they don't ever have to finish college.
Well, can we specify to be OT college credits that are in the OT
College
program?
credits.
Well,
I'm
but
pretty
it's
sure
not,
we already have that, and I'm looking it up now. I'm pretty sure OT-related college classes are part of continuing ed.
That has an endpoint. They wouldn't just be able to keep taking college credits. That
Right.
they were in school to become to bridge to OT. That has an endpoint, so they couldn't just keep doing that.
They're specific to OT, and it's things that they don't know as a coder. They're learning more in depth about interventions, goal writing. It's things to make them a better therapist, not only where they are now, but to transition to the next level.
all right, well, let's take medical school. We take 2 years of what might be called didactic and 2 years of clinical training. And we don't require or allow them to take CO, to do anything other than under supervision. And they don't require any CEs for that. Okay. So, but what you're saying is that they could be an OTA for the rest of their life and continue to take college credits. We're going to have to figure out a way around that. Okay.
Okay, so this is the situation. They are in a professional program. They're on a track. They have 2.5 years to finish to become an OT or graduate from our program. Then they have to sit for the NBCOT again to get their their registration for to be a practicing OT. These students are practicing CODAs, but they only practicing CODAs until they get their next degree. And they're just wanting to use their college credits that they're getting from not as a CODA, they've already had that, but while they're practicing CODA, they want to use their college credits for OT classes to be counted as their CEU. Since it is continuing education.
Well, no, it's primary education. It's not continuing. It is part. So tell me this, how many years does it take to get to the level where they start the 2 years of college courses for clinicals?
1.5.
Okay, so basically and again, I would go back to medical school, okay? It's 4 years, 2 of which are clinical and no requirement for, but I still don't see that there's a defined time. I could never, ever have to get out of being a CODA is what you're telling me.
Well, no, eventually they'll graduate and become an occupational therapist.
But there's no requirement to do that.
Yes.
To stay a CODA, yes, you have to have continuing education to keep your license as an OT assistant.
But my point is, why don't you say, this is an opportunity to do it any way you want, but I think you would find that the rest of the world does it differently. The rest of the world says, if you're still in training, you're in training. You don't need to have continuing education. You're having education. But you don't get, for example, you can take the USMLE Step 1 and Step 2 during your medical schools. But you ultimately have to take Step 3 to get a license, okay? But during that time, you don't need any continuing education until you get a license.
Okay, so that has to be in our rules, though. We need to.
Well, but then you see, this is the kind of thing we have to talk about. Do you want to change the rules to change that? My feeling is, if you can stay a COTA for 10 years, what's the point?
Carolyn, can I ask a question?
Sure.
Do you feel like they're asking for this credit because of the additional cost or time or both? Because now that we see that there's free courses on the Navigator, okay, I know it's going to take more time, but it's free. There's no extra cost. So
I think the issue is a little bit of both. They've spent a lot of money and they're putting in a lot of study time because they're still practicing as OTA.
Right.
OTAs. So in addition to full-time school and full-time employment, they're saying, can we use these courses? And so I know it has been in the past, we've allowed it, but we never had to, and they have to turn in their objectives and that sort of thing. But now it being a approved provider, I don't know how that would go into, you know.
Unless you can get LOTA to get involved and to see if they will approve them.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. One other thing, one other thought. All of those courses that they're taking are approved through ACOT, which is AOTA, which is, so why would that? Why would,
If we're going to add ACOT,
wouldn't it already be approved?
They are approved by ACOT.
Right. But, which like Kelly was saying earlier, is most probably an AOTA provider of sort for you guys, because you're going to hopefully be able to use some of that whenever you go to apply for your continuing education. So are their courses, right? I don't know. Follow my logic. It might be wrong.
Well, I mean, I get what Dr. Van is saying, because I think this group of students is a little bit of a unique type of student. It's not the entry level. What am I trying to say?
They've already practiced.
It's not your traditional program. They're already practitioners that are furthering their education and to move to the next level of degree. So
it's sort of like a physician assistant now wants to become an MD. And so,
right. But they still practice as a physician assistant.
Right. But they want to become an MD, but they have to obviously go back to school to get some courses and those sorts of things. But in the meantime, their license as a PA still requires, all of those continuing education.
Yeah.
So they're asking, can all the courses for the medical degree, to be an MD, count towards their PA license? It's different.
That's not allowed by their rules.
Okay. So they have a rule that specifies that.
Yeah. And again, I think that, nobody, how do I want to say this? Medical school is rather rigidly structured. Very few schools are anything other than 4-year programs. There are 2 that have 6-year programs, but they're very rigidly structured, and you're only in school for that number of years or you don't graduate. Mm-hmm. Now, that's why the COTA for me, it sounds like it's very open-ended.
It doesn't have to be. These are people that just have decided they want to be the full-blown therapist, not just the assistant.
But it could take them 20 years to do it, is what you're telling me.
No, they apply to go back to school and they have a period of time, right, Caroline?
Right.
They can practice as a COTA their entire life, but if they want to bridge to become an OT, then that's a specified amount of time that has a start and an end point.
Right.
Like
so then there's 2 types of COTAs, is what you're telling me.
Well, no, not with the license. There's one COTA, but to become an OT, they would then take additional courses and then they would bridge. So that's not offered in most places. So it is kind of comparing apples to oranges because it is unique, and not many professions have that bridge option. So they're a COTA, and then once they become an OT, they're no longer a COTA. They're an OT.
No, but suppose somebody says, I don't ever want to become an OT,
then that's
but I want to be a COTA.
They can do that forever, but they wouldn't be able to use college courses of an OT for their OTA license because they wouldn't be in an OT program.
So now you're setting up 3 classes of licenses, what I understand.
No.
OTs that are going to bridge, or COTAs that never are going to change, COTAs that are bridging, and OTs. Is that correct?
Well, it's not 3 sets of licenses, is it? I mean, Amy,
it's just a different way. I really think that the way this can be, and I'm not trying to say get around it, I really feel like those courses are ACOT and AOTA approved, so they fall under the what we want from our licensees as far as continuing education. I'm not really sure we need to put any anything in any rule. They are following along. Their continuing education just required human, anatomy, or it required, OT practices, specific, I don't know, remember the names of all the courses. It's been 21 years. But, those sorts of things should already, I feel like they're already approved. So when they go to put it in CE broker, it should already be approved. It's an ACOTE, AOTA provider situation. So there's really not any.
Would you just put their transcript in? Is that what you're saying, Carolyn? Maybe they could just upload something like that, or?
I don't know. That's what I don't know. I mean, because.
Well, that's
we can set it up to do their transcript, provided that ACOT approves it. If those are ACOT approved courses and ACOT is submitting the transcript, they can upload it and we'll give them cret for it.
But you guys,
hey guys, I'm sorry, I've been trying to jump in and can't. I pulled up the subchapter H of continuing education in our rules. And under qualifying continual professional education programs, C, it says a licensee may earn hour for hour continuing education units up to a maximum of 5 hours per year for initial presentations, workshops, and institutes presented by the licensor documented by an official program, schedule, or syllabus containing title, date, hours, and type of audience.
Yeah, but I think we took that out in our proposal.
5 hours.
But I think Darby, when we stripped out some of that stuff in the past, that was something y'all wanted to strip out.
I don't think so, because we talked about like master's programs.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I guess, now that we have all these different questions coming up, we're trying to simplify it, and now it's becoming a little less than simple.
Well,
those things, if you give credit hours, that's fine.
Yeah.
But again, I don't think I think it should be something that's ACOT approved or LOTA approved or NBCOT approved, because the gold standard is what you're looking for, okay? You want to be able to say that the people who are taking continuing education have a standard that's the minimum of these national standards. Now, you can do it any way you want, and we can put as many people as you want to create them, okay? I mean, I can have my next door neighbor start an OT school, and they can give it to you. Won't be very good. He's a great lawyer, but he's not going to be very good at giving an OT school. But he could fill out all the paperwork perfectly and be given certificates. Okay, is that what we really want?
Well, it would be an ACOTE approved, accredited program. Program, not accredited.
I sort of feel like they're covered. I just really do. I feel like they're covered with ACOTE. You guys get a certification every however often that you're ACOTE certified and that your courses are ACOTE certified and you're able to teach them, etc. And I mean, that's sort of how I feel about it. I feel like it's already got the gold standard. And
it does. I mean, it does have the gold standard. I guess I don't know. I just don't know what they're gonna what will they upload? Their syllabus, their transcript?
Yeah, I have a question. Like, how do we determine whether they pass fail? You know what I mean? Like, so
they would have to upload their transcript showing they passed.
Okay.
So, I mean, I know, like, for me, when I went back to school to get my doctorate, I used those courses because I was learning things I did not know as with my current level of education. I didn't know about how to incorporate research, how to analyze research, how to do this and that, how to do evidence-based practice. I learned things, I got course credit and grades for it, and I used it as my continuing education because it was a lot of work, and I did learn things that I use every day in practice. So that's where I'm, even though it was a paid education, it still was continuing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I did the exact same, Carolyn, because when you read our current rules, taking courses towards an occupational therapy PhD or a advanced postdoctorate OT or an advanced master's degree, an OTR from CODA degree, it meets all 5 of our of the things in the rules.
So my thoughts are, and like Dr. Van had kind of stated previously, when something kind of strange, different, or whatever that's not AOTA, LOTA, NBCOT, you know, those kind of things comes up, they're gonna bring it to us and ask us questions about it. And when they do, we say, no, look, they passed all of these. That place is ACOT accredited. It's AOT. This is gold standard. We got it. Yes, approve it. So we do still have something that can come back to us. So I think leaving it the way it is still blankets the situation, still puts an umbrella of sorts. The problem, or the minor issue that will probably come up for that person, is it's going to go to CE broker, and they're going to go, wait. And here, let OTAC look at that. And then, you know, that kind of thing. So let me make sure I understand, Dr. Van. What I was saying is, I feel like if the person puts it on, the student goes and they give those things for their continuing ed, and the CE broker goes, wait, hold on, it's still going to come back. It still could come back to us, right? And just sort of ask like, hey, does this cover the, you know, what is your opinion, OTAC? Will that happen? Is he on here? I don't see him anymore.
You mean me? I'm here.
Here he is. Yeah. I lost you for a second.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. If they put all of this in continuing, the CE broker, okay, the student, and they send that to us, and because CE broker doesn't know what to do with it, can it come to us, and we would have sort of like, oh no, that hits all the gold standards.
Why would you want to do it? Tell me why. I want you to think of it this way. Wait, stop. Let me just talk about docs, okay? I got a master's degree in 1995, okay? Went to school after work hours and everything else for 2.5 years, got a master's degree. None of that counted for continuing education. I spent a ton of money getting it, okay? It was what I wanted to do, but it's not continuing medical education, okay? While certainly it was a degree in health services administration, okay? But it didn't count, okay? I think, you know, if you can't take, if it's an ACOT approved education course and you want to give them credit for it, fine. Okay. But again, as soon as you start coming down, you're going to be perceived as lowering the quality of required education. Okay. Again, it's up to you all. I think right now, everybody in medicine says, you know, we can put on a good continuing education course, but we know nobody's going to use it because it's not CME approved by the AMA. Okay. So there's a gold standards out there that you want your CEs to be approved. It's not to say you don't care if you want to learn. That's not the issue. But if you're going to set a standard for CEs, set a standard that everybody should be able to comply with, and not set up exceptions that seem to water down your requirements. But if you want to water them down and the board approves it, and I'll present it, if the board approves it, they will. If the board doesn't approve it, that's fine. But I think you need to understand, it's not about making it easy. It's about setting a standard for continuing education. It's not about making it cheap. It's about setting a standard. Right now, any of your people could sign on to Medscape and get free Category 1 CMEs, wouldn't cost them a penny, and they can utilize it, okay? But if you want to do it that way, you can do it any way you want. But the board's ultimately going to have to approve it, and I think they might look at this as lowering your standards. But I'll present it. I'll be as positive as I can. Say this is what you want. But, you know, again, think about it in how it looks to the outside. I know what you're trying to do for the inside, but think about how it looks from the outside looking in. Why is something that's not AOTA approved good enough? Why ACOT is not good enough?
These are ACOT approved courses. I don't think that it's watering it down, because these are ACOT approved education courses related.
That's fine from the get-go, but you're talking about other things that may not be.
No, these are not. You're only talking about ACOT approved occupational therapy courses.
that's fine. If you want to give it to a credit, that's fine. That's a national standard, and you can.
Okay, I think that's all we're saying.
Yeah.
And I think the proof would just need to be the transcript.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
going to have to come from the ACOT though, the transcript.
They don't have transcript.
I don't have the transcript.
The school has the transcript that's ACODE approved. It's accredited by
Who's going to verify that the course is ACOT approved?
Can the school send in their certification, like we've been certified for the year of such and such? Can that go along with it?
They're going to have something in the transcript that says these courses taken by this student are ACOT approved.
Okay. Okay. So, okay. That just needs to be included with it. Okay. I gotcha.
It's not in the transcript. I don't know how they're going to know about it.
Well, they'll have to have an added statement, like you said, about the ACOT approval of those courses from the university. Well, the only bridging program, right, is you guys, right, Carolyn?
We're the only one. This isn't just going to be about bridging. We've got OTs out there getting post-professional doctorates right and left right now. This is not going to be, there will be, I mean, I know 3 personally.
Okay.
So they're going back to school. They're getting the post-professional doctorate. I'm sure they're going to want to use their OT classes for their post-professional
doctorate. Now, let me
ask
you something. In your post-professional doctorate, there are things like that are probably not necessarily related to OT. Is that correct?
They would know a post-professional it's a doctorate in occupational therapy, so all of the coursework is related to the practice of OT.
I think the difference is, like when I went back and got my master's degree, because I was originally an OT with a bachelor's degree, I got a master's degree in something that was not OT. It was health and human performance with the concentration in health promotion, which I would completely understand why that would not count as continuing education for my OT license. But we're talking about people that are going back to get specifically a higher level of OT degree. These are all occupational therapy classes. They're not just your core courses or what you would need to get a bachelor's or a master's in general. They are all OT degrees with OT courses.
Exactly.
So they're not generic stuff like statistics.
No. These are all OT courses in which I firmly believe are a lot more beneficial and
definitely
some of the courses that are approved that are being offered.
That's fine. I mean, that's what we trust you to do.
Yeah.
Right.
And if you want to count them and they're ACOT approved, that gives you the standard of saying, even if the school's good or bad, you're not judging it, but their courses are approved by the ACOT, and that's where you get the veritas of the education.
Yes.
May I ask one question from you ladies at the universities? ACOT. Tell me what the letters stand for again.
Accreditation Council for Occupational Therapy Education.
Okay. Is that based out of anything from AOTA?
AOTA.
So AOTA developed ACOT. Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of like a sidebar, a side area of AOTA.
But they are AOTA.
Yeah. So like.
So they're covered under what we're saying, NBCOT, AOTA, and.
So like the thing I'm talking about, I went to an AOTA ACOT.
Yeah, that would be approved.
Course.
Yeah.
And it was provided by ACOT because it's a self-study workshop to get accreditation.
But it's AOTA approved.
Yes, so it is approved.
So then if AOTA is approved, you got no problem.
Right, and that's what.
You're back to where we started from.
Right, but it's just that AOTA doesn't have anything to do with our courses per se, but
the ACOT would not certify you if you didn't have what you were supposed to have, which is AOTA. Okay.
They can even get a license if they're not a graduate from an accredited program.
Right.
Sounds like it's covered then.
And just to throw in, they cannot sit for the exam unless they graduate from an ACOT accredited program. So if they went through a program that's not ACOT accredited, if they're a COTA and they want to become an OTR, if the OT program they go through is not ACOT accredited, they can't take the exam. So ACOT does carry a lot of weight.
Okay, so what, let me just sort of clarify, you know, I feel like what we have already, the NBCOT, AOTA, LOTA, really covers that. They may have to justify themselves to CE broker a little bit more with that extra wording with the transcript, et cetera, but does everybody agree that we feel like that's under AOTA? Okay, all right, let me hear all the do you,
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to throw a big.
no. This is stuff that has to be talked about. We've got CE broker that started, and we want to make sure that it's fluid, efficient, and effective for our licensees, but also is ethical and safe for them to pursue any kind of therapy in public. This is that we're looking out for the public. That's what we do.
Right.
That's our point. And so, okay. So Michelle Allison, you feel okay about all that? Okay. All right. So we're okay to leave it at NBCOT, LOTA, and AOTA. Sorry.
They have the same, I think the same mailing address, ACOT and AOTA. I'm just looking at them online. So I think it's the same, it's yes.
Okay.
And any accreditation questions go through AOTA. So I'm pretty sure that we're covered with that.
Yeah. Does anybody have anything else, any other concern about this specific avenue?
No.
Okay. And are there any other questions or concerns from the public, Jacinta? Or comments?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to stop sharing that.
Can we take a 5-minute bathroom break, Amy?
Absolutely. Bathroom break.
Amy.
12:09.
Amy,
Yes.
what else do you have to cover?
Let's see. Let me make sure.
Y'all go ahead, break. Amy and I'll just talk.
Okay, let's see. I'm just going to give the Ingrid talk about the subgroup for that jurisprudence with her and Susie, and let her give an update. The dry needling thing is a very quick little update, just what they told me, but it's.
You don't need me for the rest of this, do you?
It's very generic, yes, sir. And the number 6, you and I have already talked about on an email, so we're good to go. And number 7, we've also already talked about, you and I.
All right, good enough.
Thanks.
If you don't mind, I'm going to bug out.
Absolutely.
Bye, Dr. Van.
Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye. Y'all have a good day. Thank y'all.
You.
Bye.
Okay, so Amy, how long are we taking? 5 minutes or what?
Yeah, go ahead. Everybody do your thing.
Okay.
Do your thing. Well, yeah, 12:15, if that's okay. All right. Stretch it out, Brenda. I see you.
Amy? Amy?
Yes.
Hi, sorry about that. I had a call I had to take, so I sort of muted everything. But part of the reason why I was hanging around here was to, talk about what Ingrid and I had talked about. What did I miss? Of course, the call happened, I believe, just as you were about to talk about that.
No, it didn't. We had a pretty large discussion, and so we will come back, and I think y'all are the first thing on the agenda.
Okay, good.
We're out till 12:15, so a couple more minutes, and we will be back.
Okay, good. I just, felt bad because I could see what was happening, and then I had to take this call. Okay, great.
No, you're fine. You actually, it ended up perfect.
Okay, thank you.
Alrighty. All right. Let's see, Jacintha, if you can, I don't have sharing capabilities, but actually I don't need it like right this minute. Actually, I may not need it for the rest of the time. Hold on. I'm just gonna talk. Well, I won't be the only one, but
I don't need to show anything on the screen.
Okay. All right. So we're good. It doesn't matter if I stay the host or you do, Jacintha.
Right.
We're happy to have you be in control.
I know Susie's still on the meeting. That's good.
Yes.
But
yeah.
Susie, I'm just going to ask you to let me summarize our meeting that we had together, and then if I say anything kind of incorrect, just jump in and fix it.
Well, let me kind of introduce like what we did since we changed something since the last time. That's all right with you guys. So, okay, we're back 12/16, 15/16, something like that. And I just kind of want to explain about the jurisprudence. So, of course, this is something we're wanting to add to our continuing education requirements coming up and all those rule regulation changes. We are, I think it's a brilliant thing to do. I mean, even for my own self, just to kind of know, especially since we're about to change some things, et cetera. And just sort of keeping us all really responsible. We all agreed upon this and we're putting that forth for the rules. In the meantime of that, of course, Miss Susie Allen at LSBME is the one that sort of, wants or is the one who puts all of the questions and development, et cetera, but she needs our input, of course, because we're the occupational therapists. And so we're wanting to formulate that better. So the way we are doing that is there's a small subcommittee. And when I say small, I mean 2 people. I mean Ingrid from our committee and Susie Allen from LSBME. And they get to, you know, really have a good back and forth, you know, with each other about, you know, where we're going with jurisprudence and what kind of questions. I mean, we did get several answers from everybody previously, but they're compiling it and they're working on it. And I'm going to shut up now and let Ingrid summarize what's been going on. And she's basically just going to give us a summary pretty much every quarter that we have our meeting, so we can kind of understand where they're going, and hopefully eventually we can all take like a really good look at it, kind of thing, and just see for sure where we agree. So I'm gonna be quiet now. Okay. You have the floor, Ingrid.
So Susie and I met by Zoom a couple of weeks ago. And so I'm just going to summarize sort of what we met about. And I'm going to start by giving a little background, because I needed some background, and hope maybe some of you already know all this, but our current occupational therapy test that we have on LSBME for initial licensure was created in 2013. There are 13 questions in the question bank, and there are 10 to 11 questions on the actual test. And just to compare, the Clin Lab people have 12 questions on theirs. The respiratory therapists have 10. So that appears to be sort of the standard. And that's what I'm assuming we're going to go for our annual, somewhere like around 10 questions. Our current initial test pass requirement, Susie had mentioned, was 100%. Although Susie, I then later read that it looks like it's actually 80%. But I read that in the modules. Whether it's 100 or 80, Susie mentioned that we can create our own pass rate, however we see fit. So we could allow someone to take the test of 10 questions and get 8 correct and they've passed, or we can say they have to get 9, or we can say they have to get all 10 and retake it if they get any wrong. So that's up to us. There is currently no other discipline that's being licensed by the LSBME that is doing an annual jurisprudence test, though several other disciplines are talking about it. Everything that's on the test is based on the rules and not the things that are in the law. If something does change within the law, but hasn't made it into the rules, that's not going to really affect the quiz. So that's the background. Yes, that's okay. Susie's going that and ish on that. You're muted, Susie. Okay. Susie, you're muted. You have to unmute yourself.
Okay. So a couple of things. Obviously, you know, what she said is correct, although there's some other things changing. I thought I want to give you a little background. First of all, you know, your test is fairly typical in size. The size of the quiz usually pertains to the size of the rules. And if you look at other professions' rules, it is highly variable. So part of what happens is that I look at the rules and I think that's important, that's important, that's important. We need to test on that. Okay. And so some of them are bigger or smaller because of how, you know, the size of the rules. And it's, I mean, I was so struck when I first started doing this like 10 years ago, how variable all the sets of rules are. I mean, we're sort of slowly bringing them into more, you know, similarities, but there is a wide variation. Okay. So you have a bizarre situation where the midwives course, which is completely, you know, lay midwives, not certified nurse midwives, it's a 46 question test because it is completely clinical and they're not being asked it anywhere else. And that's a freak. I mean, in the, you know, but anyway, the other thing I wanted to mention is that many, not just the OTs, but the RTs have said to me over the years, well, it's great that our people with initial licensure are taking this course, but our people who've been in practice for years haven't looked at the rules in years and they need to do this. So, which I think is what I'm hearing from you. So that's one thing. We are actually developing, in the middle of a big discussion with the physicians to have them take our jurisprudence course, if not every year, every few years. There's some argumentation about this because of the, you know, the sort of somewhat horrendous requirements that physicians have by their professional groups and their this and their that. And so this is in play, but it's definitely about to happen with the physicians that they will have, whether it's once every other year or every 2 or 3 years, that they too are going to be forced to take a jurisprudence course every interval. So that is happening. And I think once we start doing this, you know, with them and with you, some of the other advisory committees are going to say, let's do it every whatever. I think one of our challenges is we're thinking about this for the physicians course. Physicians course, we're probably going to have something, because it's very large, because they have so many rules. We're probably going to have them everybody take the course, you know, at least once within the, you know, next, whatever the phase-in period is, and then do a rules update. So one of the things I think we need to talk about is maybe doing something like that. You know, it's up to you all, but it makes sense to address the fact that people who've been practicing for years probably haven't looked at the rules for years. And then what do you want to do after that? Do you want to have a shorter course where they have to do rules updates, or I don't know, you know, your rules aren't updated as frequently as some of the other professions. It sort of, again, depends. Everything is rule specific, but I did want to give the bigger picture about some of what's going on elsewhere in the organization. And it's, you know, it's totally up to what you think is best for your group. One of the other things that I did talk to about, Ingrid, is, you know, I really go to the committees for the scenario. I feel like that, you know,
hold on, Susie. I'm gonna kind of go through how I got to organize, because we're gonna get to all of it.
Yeah, but
okay.
Anyway,
so that's sort of the background. I think we've kind of covered the background. Then of our current situation, Susie really cannot set up the mechanism for this annual test until we have created this new rule change and passed it. So we have to amend our rules to say that we're going to have this annual jurisprudence exam, and not until that's happened can Susie create the mechanism for the test. In the future,
I'm sorry, I have a question. Sorry, sure. But you can create the bank of questions.
We can request the bank, yes, which we are going to be doing. That's yes, exactly, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
And then in the future, after this is up and rolling, any changes that we do make to the rules always need to be communicated to Susie, so that she, after they've been passed, not just because we've said it's going to happen, so that she can keep the exam updated, add questions, add to the education modules. And anytime that we communicate any rule change, we have to include to Susie the actual section number of the rule. So the types of questions that I'm going to be creating with Susie, many of them have already been created, and some of us I just have to reorganize. But each question has to have at least one alternate question in that category. So in other words, each question has to be given a category. Maybe it'll be a category called OTA supervision. Maybe it'll be a category called OT referrals. But we have to have at least 2 questions for each category. And each question has to be accompanied by the rules section number in which that answer can be found. She does want some of the questions to be scenarios that basically asks the question like, are you, you know, you have a scenario, and then if you've done this, are you in violation of board rules? You know, because that's sort of the bottom line, is to get people to understand if they've been in violation of board rules. And just an aside, no question can say all of the above, but it can say all that apply. So I'll be making sure I follow all of that when I'm creating the questions. But one big problem we're having right now is that a lot of the rule changes that we've already discussed and that we think are quote passed are not in the rules. And you know, we really can't move with this jurisprudence quiz. I mean, especially if we're doing a lot of rapid rules changes right now, we kind of need to get at least like the bulk of those handled. And then we can create the test and put it up. But I was pulling up the rules this morning, and the PA referral is still not in it.
Right. And so I can address that a little bit.
Okay.
So, and I'm not sure if it was before you got on or not. No, you were on when we did this. So, what has happened is whenever Dr. Van goes to bring something to the board, because everything we can suggest all these rule changes, et cetera, it has to go to the board next, and the board has to say yay or nay. Well, the deal is we didn't just want to change one section, we had several. And then also, in addition to that, is the biggie for us, dry needling. And so, which I'll, talk about that later. But the point is that we want that said yes to, hopefully. And if it is, that also has to be reworded. And he wants everything we want to change at the same time to go through.
Oh, wow.
Not just one rule, not just one, because we would be hitting them bam, bam, bam constantly at every, month or whatever, hitting with the something. Well, our main ones that we're working on, the continuing education, the the makeup of the OTAC, okay, is one that we also went for. And then we are wanting actually to add a section with the modality stuff. Okay. And or certification and or, that kind of thing. We're in the midst of trying to get certain things. Well, we're going to have to work on how we word it and all those sorts of things. Now, and I completely understand what you're saying. I do. It's almost like we gave you a little bit of an impossible task. Susie Allen's raising her hand. And yes, hang on one second. Honestly, that's kind of where we are with it. I know that, it may feel like we're jumping the gun, but at the same time, it's going there. It's just not there yet because Dr. Van's asked us to hang out and put all of it through at the
So
same
even
time.
though the PA referral thing passed like almost 2 years ago now, that is not going to be entered into the rule change until we've gone through all of the rules and created all the changes we want to create.
So far. Our main ones are the ones I just discussed. And
Okay.
with that, and actually we need to find what subchapter that PA thing belongs in and put it there. So that needs to be included. And it's just adding those two words, physician assistant.
I know.
It's
So
so easy.
The PA change, the OTAC committee change, the continuing education unit changes,
and
the modalities changes.
Well, possible addition of, yeah.
And then plus the jurisprudence change.
Well, that's in.
I guess that's part of continuing ed change. Okay. So all of those things we're going to put in together. So for right now,
it's together.
My charge with the jurisprudence subcommittee is really just to have the questions ready.
Right. It's so that when we finally get it all passed, which we are hoping is very, very soon, we of course had to move the dry needling stuff that went before the committee back down a little bit because we needed some more substantial information to go with it. We're waiting on that. We're hoping to get it next month, etc. And then we will hopefully be back on the list to talk in front of LSB, the board. And with that, then we need to go back and start wording or adding that additional stuff with the dry needling certificate, etc. And then from there, all of it's going, because that's the bulk of what we have issue with and the bulk of what we needed changed. And it's going to be those 3 or 4 things that we just discussed. And I'm so sorry, Susie, your hand's been raised forever.
All right. So just a couple of additional points of background and so on. First of all, I have been acutely aware about the PA thing for quite some time. Mm-hmm. For me personally, I have a bit of a stopper with our IT department. And so I am hesitant to go to them unless I have a bunch of big changes. I am actually working on that. I have gotten permission to get a Moodle Rooms consultant. And once I find that person, just going forward with you and every other group, making changes to the course will be faster and easier. It's that a whole question of corporate capital, if you know what I mean. Right. But the other thing I want to make sure you all are aware of, in terms of going to the board and what Dr. Van said, let's have all the changes. One, you're talking about sort of board attention span, that you want to be able to say, we want to overhaul the OT rules and there's this and there's this and there's this. And it makes a lot of sense in terms of how the board works. But the other thing that I don't know if he said to you it makes everything take longer and makes that more important. And this was not us, this was imposed above us. All licensing boards now, the board decides whether to agree with you and however you phrase things, but then everything has to go through the Occupational Licensing Review Board, and they don't meet that often. So that is another situation which completely delays, so just the process got lengthened enormously. It used to just be sort of the board and the legislature and it was done. And now it's the board and the OLRC and then the legislature. So you just have these months and months procedural delay that got added.
And that's why he wants all of them together.
All in there at one time. And then, then personally with my issues with some IT stuff, it took a while. I'm hoping to, as I said, make the IT end of this faster. And I will say this, if it looks like something, we're going to redo this course according to what we think is going to happen. To me, the only thing which appears to be in doubt is the parts of the dry needling, because you've got other people's stuff interacting with that. We know that's really the only thing that isn't going to go through necessarily. Hopefully it will, but I'm saying that's the only thing in doubt. But we put it in the course. We have the course sort of ready to, ready to rock and roll. But I'm also perfectly happy, depending on what goes on, to insert into the course something that says, because I have done this in the past. The law says this. It has not. The PA part I'm talking about. The law says this. It has not yet been enacted in the rules, but it is anticipated to be so. And, we certainly change the questions and so on. So, there is some flexibility certainly on my part about this. And I'm also hoping to just make the whole effort more flexible in terms of an IT solution. But I did want to make sure you all understood that the OLRC adds like 3-4 months into this whole ridiculous process.
Right, which is the larger reason why he wants everything done all at the same time. Board can decide yes, then it can at least move to the next process, which unfortunately does take a good bit of time. And it's not a problem. I'm glad we have this committee, obviously, but we keep finding little things that we want to add to it. And so what happens is we have to go back and then change it. And then, so he wants everything to be said and done, cut and dry. It's already here. Here's Dr. Van, present this to LSB, the board, and then go from there. So that's kind of where we are. But so Ingrid, did you have some more things on your agenda?
No, I was just going to say that I'll be categorizing our current questions and ensuring each one has a section number, and then get those to Susie to review, and we'll try to have our exam questions ready to roll.
Awesome. And I really honestly think that you guys may want to hang out on the dry needling deal, just so that we know we have, I think that's going to be a very large, long, lengthy discussion when we do finally get that approval, how we're going to place it in there, because it doesn't just involve dry needling for us. We're getting approval from the board about, hopefully from the board about dry needling, but there's lots of other things we've all as a committee continue to discuss, like certifications, pelvic floor, etc., all those things. So there's other stuff that we're wanting to add. So it's not even that it's in the rules yet. We're possibly adding some things. It's just how we're going to do it. So I don't know if maybe you want to hang out on the dry needling and just focus on the other stuff for right now.
Probably so.
Because there may be more added to it. Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for doing this.
Let me add one more part about that. So part of it is whenever you add a scope of practice issue to a rule, that's when you actually have people appear at the hearing. So the way the process works in terms of passing these, these rules, the board says okay to whatever, and then depending on what goes on, you have to have a hearing. Now, most of your stuff, no one shows up at the hearing. Dry needling, yeah, you're going to get PT. You're going to get people debating scope of practice, and we can do this, and we can, and this and that. I mean, that's just what happens around here. And that adds time, and it's it's appropriate, but that is what happens. But so we can just have our stuff prepped. I will say, in terms of the dry needling, in terms of quiz type stuff, I don't know how much in other words, that's procedures, and there's training involved in that. And unless we may not need a question about that other than it's allowed, it's not allowed, or you have to do a course on it. that's a pretty easy, that's not so much.
I agree.
You know, it's not really a scenario-based thing. It's something else.
Okay.
So that's not difficult for us in terms of the quiz. If it gets put into the rule, then it's put into the course as part of the rules that we are. I mean, the whole point of these courses is to force people to read the rules. That is it, pure and simple. And the quizzing is merely to assure ourselves that you in fact read and processed the information in the rule. That's all it is. So
okay.
I'm going to get
all
off.
right.
Nice to see everybody. Keep me in the loop.
You too. Thank you so much for your help, Susie. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much. All right. Okay. All right. So, JACINTHA, anyone else, any other comments or concerns about that specific part of the agenda?
Any public comments or?
Oh, she just sent me an email that she would be back in a few minutes. So we were not able to answer that question, but hopefully, yeah, nobody else had anything to say.
No.
Okay, super duper. All right, so our next one is the dry needling update. This is gonna be really short. Mainly because I can't really tell you everything. So let me just sort of give you generics at this point. So you guys know that Craig and Randall have, of course, come to visit us and talk to us about it. And we're, trying to bring things forward to the board. And with that, AOTA had formed a committee to not just a committee for Louisiana, it's a committee for United States or AOTA national, and sort of to be able to hopefully do some investigating on the part of dry needling and writing a paper and all those things to help us help it to be legit, etc. And so with that, of course, he didn't really go into too much detail, but they did meet as the committee. And then of course the AOTA conference thing is happening, and there will be some voting and all that kind of stuff, and he will be able to get back with us. So honestly, I can't really give much of an update other than some things are going to be voted on, etc. And he will then be able to either come back to our next meeting and kind of talk with us about that, or maybe I can, I'm sure you can start to probably read some AOTA things about it possibly. And we definitely will have some more discussion there. And then I will request hopefully to put us back on an agenda with the board. Okay, we had to come off of the agenda because we needed more information, and so now we have it. Or I'm sorry, I do not know that we have it actually. I'm hoping that after the vote and all those other things and discussion at the AOTA conference, that will then give us some more things to go forth with some more information.
Okay, I'm sorry. Amy. Oh, clarify for a second. So we came off of, we originally said that they were going to meet they were going to be presenting at the December 14th board meeting. You and I have talked about this, but they came off the board to await more discussion because the AOTA position paper, the old one, was not very favorable. So we're waiting on AOTA for their new position, which should be more favorable.
I do not know that for a fact.
Okay.
Let's go with that. But they have done some investigation. Yeah.
More information that will support our cause.
I hope so. Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
If it doesn't support our cause, then we need to discuss if we're going to help them to go through with the board with our advice as the advisory committee, etc. So we need to wait for that report and what is voted on and papers written and etc. at AOTA.
So we're waiting. So we're waiting for more information from the AOTA's position, and then this will again be brought to the board, we hope, in the near future.
Correct.
Okay.
Is the AOTA position paper expected to be released in April during the traditional conference time?
Okay, so my understanding is very minimal, so I apologize about that, Ingrid, but something is to happen at AOTA conference. It indicated maybe some voting, so I don't know if maybe they're showing the paper and there's a vote to accept it as AOTA's position, etc. That kind of thing.
Okay.
Make sense? Okay. All right. Okay. But again, I don't know what that paper says. I don't know what they found. I don't know one way or the other. That's really all I know. Okay. So any other questions, issues, concerns? Darby, I think you were going to talk earlier. Did we?
I was going to say exactly what Leslie was going to say.
Okay.
To kind of recap, like we're waiting for AOTA because it wasn't favorable, but hopefully we'll.
Amen. That's right. That's right. What she said, folks. Okay, so I'm not sure if Jacintha's back, but is there any other comment or concern from the public?
No, I don't have anything at this time.
Okay, and did the public have any comment or concern about the jurisprudence stuff? We had discussed that, but I think you walked away. You sent me the email right then, right as I was asking.
No public comments at all.
Okay, gotcha. All right, and let's see. The next thing on my agenda is okay, update for the OT compact for LOTA. So I of course, after each meeting, at some point within the 3 months between our meetings, I try to discuss with LOTA some of the things going on, of course, that might affect them, etc., that we've put in our meeting minutes, etc., and just to sort of get their input. Of course, I think it was last time LOTA actually came on, Danielle and Tiffany, the president, and I'm not sure what Danielle's new title is, so I apologize about that. But they sort of were of the same sound in mind with us, kind of a wait and see attitude with the other states for the OT compact. But since then, I've gotten a call from Danielle asking that, stating that Chuck from AOTA as well as Sean from NBCOT are supposed to be coming down this way. I do not know what month, time, etc. But to talk to LOTA, they invited me to come to the meeting for sure. I think it's also going to be like this one, virtual or sort of an online situation where you can, ask questions, etc. It is, of course, not an official. This is not an OTAC meeting. This is an LOTA meeting. So they're going to open it up, I think, to their members, etc. And it's just sort of to discuss the OT compact, what, the effects, the different things that they're seeing and learning and doing and all of that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. If you saw that, if you're an LOTA member, you'll probably see some things, sort of informing you. And I'm sure I'll be able to, if it's within the time frame between now and the next meeting, I'll be able to report some things on that. So I just wanted to let you guys know. Okay. I don't know a ton of detail, but like I said, if you're an LOTA member, you should probably see something kind of coming up in if they, newsletter, etc., on the website, things like that. Let's see. I think that was probably the larger thing I needed to tell you about that. Does anybody have any questions or? Nope. Okay. Anything from the public comment?
Nothing at this time.
All right. Okay. All right. So we're going to move on to the last thing on the agenda, which is announcement for leadership. Okay. So Leslie Clement and I have had a very distinct honor, serving as the chair people for this committee. I have very much enjoyed it. I don't want to speak for Leslie. I'm sure she has too, but I definitely have very much enjoyed my time. And this will be my last year on the committee. I definitely, again, just a total honor. But in that, we definitely, because Leslie and I were members for just a little bit and then all of a sudden in charge, and we unfortunately didn't get to have a mentorship. We had the last level of people. They were wonderful handing it over, but there were still lots of questions and, things like that. So I sort of felt like
changed a whole bunch since, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's changed dramatically because we didn't have the support like we have from Dr. Van now, and we didn't have we had Elaine, who was wonderful, but she had to carry it all. So it's nice to have Dr. Van to help guide us through all these changes and processes, which has been really, really, really nice.
Phenomenal at making it a more efficient and effective process. Being able to ask the question right then, get the answer, you know, I mean, that has been wonderful. And I don't think really done in the past is what we were told. So I love this, love it. And anyways, so sort of, I would like, or Leslie and I really want to, you know, pass the crown. And we have asked Darby Philibert to be the lady to wear the crown. So, and she has accepted wonderfully. We are so excited about that. So basically over this next year, Leslie and I are just going to go through everything that we actually do behind the scenes, on the scenes, etc. And then of course in December will be our mine and Leslie's last meeting. So definitely we're going to have to find some replacements for us, etc. And those sorts of replacements for our seat. Darby will be replacing as the chairperson. So we do thank you, Darby, again, times 1,000 for agreeing to do this. And she has an amazing committee with you guys that y'all are super supportive. You're willing to ask the hard questions and you know, devil's advocate. We love, I mean, it's perfect because, you know, one person can't always think of everything. And so, you know, 9 heads are better than one. So with that, I just kind of wanted to let you guys know that those changes are happening behind the scenes. And, you know, if you start to get things from Darby instead of me or Leslie, that's why, you know, that kind of thing. So if you, you know, just wanted to let you guys know, and she may be calling on you to help with different things. And I know you guys are all up to the task. Everyone's an excellent committee member. We have definitely had some really, you know, I love that everybody speaks up. I love that everybody says something or their opinion and really gives to this situation, because it's all about, you know, who we serve. So
absolutely.
Well, Amy,
Leslie,
Amy and Leslie, thank y'all so much for considering me. Like y'all, I was thrown into the LOTA presidency very similarly when I was just out of OT school. So I can relate, but I really looked, in order to accept this, I looked at the committee with everyone, even the new members like Michelle and some of the older ones like Brenda and Ingrid, and really look at y'all as this is a team effort. So anyone willing to.
We have a really good team right now, which is really good. We have a lot of people who ask a lot of good questions.
And you know, I'll accept anyone and will beg and plead and borrow everyone's help. So hopefully, you know, I have everybody's support. If anyone's interested or has a desire to be co-chair, I'm open to that. You know, but I really feel like it's already started to mold into a team effort. We have subcommittees, we have different people using their strengths, and just really want to, you know, continue that and move forward with a lot of issues that are in different practice areas, different arenas that I don't always have the expertise in, but will really, you know, feel like with this team, it can be done.
Amy, I just want to say that, you know, I've thoroughly enjoyed working with you. So thank you for all that you've done, that you've done. I know it's a big job. And thank you, Darby, for taking it on. So just as a procedural thing, is Darby our chair now?
But in December, I guess finally in December, she will take, well, that'll be our last meeting. So we only have 3 more meetings, which I'm giving you the sad face because I will miss everybody in doing this. But at the same time, I am grateful that I feel very comfortable, and Leslie too. We feel very comfortable with where this is going, and you guys know what you're to continue on with and push for, you know, what this committee agreed to, and you guys are really good with that. And so I mean, like the day that I see all of those things that have passed, I am just gonna send up a balloon somewhere. I don't know where, but somewhere.
Okay, so
Actually,
this
erase
is
it from
basically
the
a
agenda.
transition period with you guys as co-chairs to Darby, and then in December, Darby will be the chair.
Yes.
That's
And
December
my
will be
hope
our
is that
last meeting.
my hope is that the rules and everything are done by December.
I hope so.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna
So we're
even
getting
do a
close.
circle. Yeah. Like cross my fingers, arms, everything. It's all crossed. Absolutely. That's what we want as well. And if not, you guys already know the mission. You already know mission impossible. It will definitely be pushed forward in that way. And I think that's great. Dr. Van is more than on our side with all the things that we, want to do. And I think him in your corner it's awesome. It really
is huge.
Huge.
It really is.
So basically to answer your question, Ingrid, I guess I wanted to announce what we were doing, but pretty much Leslie and I will continue till December. And then after that, that's when ours ends. And then the next person will begin. So I guess probably March, she will own that March meeting completely. And you're all welcome to give me a call at any point if you have a question. I'm not sure if I'll always be able to answer, but I'm always, I'm not sure if I'll be able to answer every question. What I mean is I'm always available. Just, give a call.
Well, you got JACINTHA in our corner too, which is also, we can't be remiss in saying that she hasn't been a tremendous, fabulous help in getting all this, keeping everything organized. So JACINTHA, we appreciate you.
I can't even
kind words.
Yeah.
Great.
JACINTHA is the most organized workaholic. Nah, she's amazing. She's amazing. Yes, Leslie, you are right. She deserves props, applause, everything you can give her. If I had $1 million to give, it'd be yours, JACINTHA. But anyway,
so really,
yeah. Okay, so any other questions, concerns, issues that you guys are kind of thinking of about anything? All right, any public comments, JACINTHA?
No, we are free from public comments.
All right. Okay, so ladies, I motion at 12:54 to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a second?
A second.
Darby seconds. Thank you, ladies. We will adjourn for the day and I will see you in June.
Yes.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Have a good day, everyone. What time was it? 12:56?
12:50. Well, I said at 12:54 was when I said we're adjourned.
Thank you.
So let's go.
I'm trying to do it as I go along this time, so I don't do that until the night before. So
You're perfect.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Bye.